We would like to welcome everyone to our Planning Commission meeting today on January 28th, 2025. We'll begin our meeting today with an invocation by Commissioner Showers, and then Commissioner Thompson will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Our dear Father in heaven, we're grateful to be here this evening to discuss the needs of our city. We're grateful for this beautiful area in which we live. We're thankful for warm homes. We're especially grateful for those in our community who are helping to keep the roads clear as we've received some snow and to ensure that we are safe. We're grateful for the time and effort of this commission and the city staff to put together the agenda items today and to discuss them and pray that we might make the best decisions on behalf of our citizens. And we ask for these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Will the audience please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated.
We'll begin tonight with an audible roll call of the commissioners. Sharon Call.
Here.
Mike Marchbanks.
Here.
Rob Callis.
Here.
Steve Johnson here. Scott Thompson.
Here.
Jared Showers.
Here.
Karen Danielson.
Here.
Great. The next item on our agenda is approval of our minutes from our meeting on December 10th of 2024. The commissioners have received these minutes and have had a chance to review them. Are there any corrections or additions to those minutes?
Was that the last meeting that we had?
December 10th, yes. Well, I assume I wasn't here for that one, but the first part of January and the end of December. So I do think that's our last meeting, so.
Okay. I have reviewed those minutes
Okay.
and didn't see any corrections.
Okay.
Do you want me to make a
Do we have a
motion?
motion?
Make a motion to approve the minutes?
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. The next item on our agenda is a time for public comment. This is a time for citizens or others who come to make comment to the commission for items that are not on the agenda. Is there anyone here for that purpose? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to item. Oh.
If anybody's here for the 800 North, 1200 East public hearing, that won't be held tonight. It's being postponed to a future date. I just want to make sure nobody's here for that. I'm not sitting through the next hour and all that.
Thank you. We'll move on to our next item, item number 4. This is a miscellaneous application. The Buddy, I don't know if I said that correctly, but hope they can correct me. Sports court setback and fence modification. And if the applicant's here, they can come sign, sit, and present, if you'd like.
Was Matt going to join us online? Or
If you'd like him to, I could call him. He might be in the air flying.
okay.
Would you like him to stay here?
With
Yeah.
everything with the computer updating, I didn't get a chance to connect to that. So
He wishes he could be here.
okay.
I don't see that there's the place to sign in, so we'll just have you state your name when you, do you see, is
Oh,
there?
it is.
Oh, is it? Oh,
It's just
just put your name there, just so we get it spelled right in the record.
Yep, you got it.
Perfect. Okay, our presenting staff is Mike Florence, so we will let Mike give us the details.
Thank you. So the Labudis have if you remember a couple years ago, they went through and subdivided the property in this area. This Lindon Treasury Development, Plat D or something like that. And so the Labudis have built a new home here on the cul-de-sac that's highlighted in blue. I don't know where red came from, but blue. And their former home was in just to the west of there. And so, as we were finishing up the building inspections on the property, we noticed that a new sport court was put in. And what our ordinance says is if you have a fence taller than 7 feet, you're supposed to have a 10-foot setback from the property line. And then it allows for a modification request through the planning commission that your sport court can be closer to the property line if you want a taller fence. And so so the Labudis have petitioned the planning commission for this modification request. So they do own the property on both sides of the property line still. And according to Matt Labudi, they don't plan on selling that home. But this is the approximate location of the sport court. You can see it's also the two dashed lines there are an easement. They've been getting the utility encroachment forms signed by all of the utility companies to be into that easement, and we have almost all of those now. And so here's a couple pictures of the sports court. You can see it constructed there on top of the terraced hill there. You can see the height of the fence. The height of the fence is 10 feet. As we've reviewed the ordinance, you know, it does seem like, you know, a taller fence would be appropriate, having that terraced area there. So you're not chasing the ball up and down all the time if they do decide to sell the property in the future. So city staff is recommending a couple conditions on this. We're recommending approval with 3 conditions. The rear setback may be modified to go up to the property line as long as the public utility easement is approved by all utility companies. The fence is approved at 10 feet for the sport court and all items of the staff report. So with that, myself or Ms. Labudi would be glad to answer any questions.
How far is the fence line that's 10 feet from the neighbor's home?
The house? I don't have the exact measurement, but it's
Approximately.
pretty far. I mean,
Is it?
would you be able to help me guesstimate? It's like,
Yeah, let's
I bet he has the number, but
pull that up real quick.
While he's doing that, is the terracing on the other parcel, is that correct? So the fence is right on the property line,
right,
okay?
yep.
So that terracing is on the property line of the home to the west that you used to live in, is that correct?
Right, yep,
Okay.
and we're keeping that home, that, like, we intend to retire there. We wanna keep it forever. I wanna be buried on the property, so.
That'll have to come to the planning commission.
We'll let you know when that happens. Yeah, can you tell from that picture?
So you're probably, it's about here,
Yeah,
and so you're about 25 feet. And that's from the north side of the sport court to the neighboring property.
Well, yeah. And how far is it away from the home that they own?
oh,
It's
Probably 50?
about 45, 46 feet.
Okay.
yeah. When we were building it, I guess I'm to blame for this because I'm visualizing my grandchildren being in that backyard a lot. It will be a home that we'll rent out to our children. And we have a lot of basketball players, and so I couldn't stop visualizing a ball just going over and clunking kids, or it's kind of tall. And so it would give the ball extra momentum, and you know how women think. So I was like, no, make it extra tall. I had no idea about the ordinance, so sorry.
Thanks.
So Mike, does the fence go, I mean, there's the home they own, but from that aerial view, does the other side go against someone else's property? I guess,
You're talking about the north side.
Yeah.
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 It does not. It goes, that's still our property, but it's the drain. Do you guys remember? I know we did this through you guys as well. What do you call that?
There's a drainage easement through there.
Yeah.
Okay,
There's
so it's
drainage
set back from
Yeah.
there, so they meet the 10 feet or whatever on
Definitely
that side?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so
That-
it's just
yeah.
the one property line that we're,
Right, that we own as well, so.
Okay,
Yeah,
that
good
was my question too. I wanted to make sure it didn't come up against someone else's property line also.
I think you're about
Yeah.
14 feet from that north property
Okay.
line.
Which,
And
which meets the ordinance.
Meets the ordinance.
Okay.
Well, I think by the way it looks, it's clear that they want to keep it that way with the stairs and everything that's coming down, that the parcels are joined
Yeah.
as far as they're concerned.
Even if it's sold, though, I think with the difference in elevation, I think there's less of a concern there on my part.
Right.
There's already 10 feet of elevation change there,
Right.
plus a fence, so.
Well, I think even if that was a visual problem, if they did sell the home, they could put something to obstruct the view there too as well, slats or something to make it to where it's less obtrusive to the new homeowner.
Yeah, it's the type of fence that slats can be added to.
Any other questions or comments from the commission? If there aren't any,
Well, I look at this also, this last thing that even if they were to sell a property, it says the proposed additional height is necessary to provide an adequate buffer for the adjoining landowner's use. So if they were to sell that other piece of property, then that additional height probably is necessary though, for the way the two properties are set up,
to keep
so.
people from running into the neighbor's yard constantly.
Right.
I think
One
so.
thing I wondered though, and this is just this isn't anything to do with whether we go ahead with things. I just noticed that on the item number 4, it has 279 west, 110 south. And then on the project address, it has 946 east, 25 south.
Oh,
The first address is the address of the new home we built, and I don't recognize the second address.
sorry, this is probably from the last pickleball staff report we did. And so,
That's okay. When
Yeah.
I first looked at those two addresses, I was confused.
sorry, that's
so-
my fault. I just forgot to change the address.
That's okay. I just thought you might want to.
And the motion has the correct address, so let's just make sure we get that in there.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, I'll make a motion,
Perfect.
but before I do, can I just ask one more question? So is the easement, public utility easement is not vacated yet?
Is the public utility the one that, which one is that?
It's not, it's the easement that goes on that west property line. But I have from the major utility companies like Rocky Mountain Power, Utopia, Lindon City, I have those 3, and those are the major ones.
All right.
So the only ones I think I'm waiting on is CenturyLink and Comcast, and they take months sometimes.
Okay, and I'll make a motion. I move to approve the applicant's request to modify the sports court setback requirement found in section 17.44.150 for the property located at 279 west, 110 south, with the following conditions. The rear setback may be modified to go up to the property line as long as the public utility easement is approved. The fence is approved at 10 feet for the sports court and all items of the staff report.
I second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The voting is unanimous.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, we'll move on to item 5. This is a major subdivision. This will be a recommendation because it is a major subdivision, so this will go to the city council for no?
Not anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, the staff report says it's required, so.
Oh.
So I'll take that back. This is now just a administrative action here at the planning
Right.
commission,
That's a change.
Okay.
so.
Voted down.
The applicant is Jeremiah Larson. You want to come forward and sign in? And our presenting staff is Britton Corbett, and we will turn the time over to him to present for us.
All right, thank you, commissioners. So yeah, today we're going to be discussing this application for a major subdivision approval. Jeremiah Larson, who's from Avenue Consultants has been working with the city for a couple of months now about getting major subdivision approval for this first phase of 3 for a single-family residential development located at where the Davis family property currently resides. And this phase is going to be containing about six different lots is what is currently proposed for the area, for about 1.45 acre property consisting of the Davis property, 4 typical lots, and then 1 flag lot that I hope to be able to discuss with you in the Planning Commission. To go a little bit more into the history of this property, let's go back here a little bit. So these were some of the initial subdivision plans that were initially talked about when the Davis family was going to initially subdivide this property back in 2007. It was going to be called the Pennant Hills subdivision, and was going to be consisting of about six properties here. They met about in September of 2007, and I think 2 weeks later, they decided, after some talking and deliberation, they opted for this current not subdivision, but just the single lot for this property, consisting of this house here. And that brings us to what is currently being proposed today, with the six properties here. All of them right here would meet our subdivision standards. However, I do want to talk about lot 4 here, which is this unique flag lot. Now, if I can return over here. In the initial staff report, I think what we wrote down here is that development using standard public street is possible, but not in the best interest of the public. But after reviewing that further, I think we would rather the Planning Commission decide amongst yourselves if that ends up being the case. And so to reference the specific code for flag lots, it's under Title 17.32.290. Flag lots are only permitted when one of the following 2 circumstances exist: either development using the standard public street is not possible. The property has specific constraints that limit access, public street frontage, and/or construction of a standard public roadway. These abnormal constraints may be restrictive topography, constraints caused by built environment, irregular lot configuration, ownership limitations, environmental constraints such as wetlands, springs, ditches, or canals, etc., or development using the standard public streets is possible, but not in the best interest of the public. And when we are considering flag lots specifically, they may be considered on parcels where the extension of the public street cannot or should not be extended due to the disruption of sensitive lands and natural features, or potential or significant impacts to the surrounding neighborhood that would be caused by a public street for any of those reasons. Although standard frontage requirements and public roadways are encouraged, the intent of this chapter is to allow flag lots if the development is the most harmonious to the existing subdivision layout and/or is least disruptive configuration for the neighborhood. Additionally, flag lots may be considered for properties that have topographic constraints, off-lot configuration, so forth, described here. And it's not the intent of this chapter to promote flag lots in order to merely maximize the number of potential lots within a subdivision or alleviate subdividing hardships that are self-imposed. And when we look at this property here, what initially was going to happen was it was going to have these first 5, not including lot 4. However, this last remaining lot was sold to the developers, and the developers found that this would be one of the ways that they could incorporate it into the development. So that's something that could be discussed if the commission feels comfortable with this shape of lot, or if any changes would have to be made to these 3 lots here. Other than that, the engineering department's currently working with developers to make sure that they meet standards. There is an existing sewer easement along here that's about 20 feet, but it's going to need to be extended to be about 25 feet to allow for additional utilities to be put in there. And then all the traffic is expected for these lots to exit out of Byland Lane is what they have described for this, and then funneling out into what is 400 East over here. Previously in one of our street master plans, there was plans to kind of extend this road out, go more south towards 200 North. But that has since been removed from the plans there. It used to connect to 200 North, and then was just be like a cul-de-sac, and then ultimately was just removed altogether after discussing with some of the neighbors in this area. So that's going to be the initial phase that we're discussing tonight, and will be the main topic. This is what is planned with the other 2 developments for phases 2 and 3, just for your reference. It will consist of the entirety of the Davis property here, this parcel, and then this parcel that the developers acquired here. When we look at this, this is kind of what we have planned initially, and there's some things that we'll have to work with the developers to make sure that gets resolved for phase 2 and 3 before bringing it to you guys for final approval. But yeah, this is kind of what we're going to be looking at mostly today, though, is this phase 1 area.
And our city code requires that when there's a phased subdivision plan, the developer has to show the other phases, so you can see the entire project. And so, yeah, while we are just concentrating on phase 1, we want you to know that in the future, they may submit for phase 2 and 3. Now, there's some significant issues with phases 2 and 3 with wetlands and protecting the hollow water spring and things like that, the city has to evaluate, and we have not done that because they're only asking for review of phase 1 at this time.
Mm-hmm. And then speaking of the hollow area over there, we did receive a couple of comments from the public while we were working with the developers on this potential subdivision. Most of the comments showing disapproval for this subdivision was in regards to phases 2 and 3, out of concern for that wetland area. However, there was maybe 20% of the comments were showing concern for some of the potential traffic that phase 1 development could bring coming out of 400 East and funneling into 200 North, like we'll see from here. But that could be something that the commission talk about, if that's going to be a worthwhile concern to deny this or add any additional conditions. Other than that, I'm free to answer any other additional questions that you might have.
Anybody want to go first? Sure.
Well, it appeared, I'm sorry,
No,
go ahead, Sharon.
No, as far as the road, it seems like one of the big issues when Mr. Davis was going to put in, subdivide that before, was the road. He didn't want to put in all the improvements on the road. He wanted to just keep it as a flag lot. It sounds like all the improvements are going to be put in on that road, which is what the city wanted initially. Is
You're
that
talking about
correct?
Highland Lane when you say the road?
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about? Okay.
And so the developer is willing to put all of those improvements in.
So that is
Yeah.
that will be a public roadway.
So that's going to be entirely public. The only road that would be private is just this roadway that leads to the flag lot here for Lot 4, if it were to be approved.
More of a drive, that'll be a driveway.
Yeah.
Right.
Isn't it true that most of the time we do flag lots to access landlocked properties? That's typically the reason why we will do them, to split properties. But isn't this a case where the developer created the landlocked property here when he bought it from the Williams? It wasn't landlocked until he bought Lot 4?
Well, it was landlocked before.
No, he could get to it through the Williams property.
No, the Williams property that's landlocked.
It comes off of 200, doesn't it?
No,
I don't understand which one's the Williams property. Oh, that's the one.
Williams owned this. He owned it all.
Williams, right there.
It's,
Right.
doesn't really have any access to a public road.
They own both of them.
You mean
The Williams owned both of them. They sold them to this developer, which then required us to do this unique flag.
But if Williams would've wanted to develop, he would've had to do a flag lot either direction.
Okay, if he wanted to,
Yeah.
Yeah, he would have to do a flag
In
lot off
essence, it
his
was
property.
undevelopable property.
Yeah,
okay,
so it fits the definition of
Okay.
undevelopable property.
okay.
But by doing this way, with the road going into the
Gives
The master
possibility
road.
of access to sewer
It
and
gives him
water
access.
through those,
Okay.
yeah.
So so for the flag lot, we need the commission to decide, is this the best interest of the city for to not put in a public street and have this, private lane for a flag lot, creating a flag lot, is that the best interest for the city?
I think it fits all the definitions, because you're not gonna nobody's gonna wanna put a fully improved street back to pick up one lot.
Yeah.
So that's where the lane makes total sense.
Well, we would have to maintain it as a city
And then
too.
we would have to maintain it. This, to me, fits totally the reason we have an ordinance that allows for flag lots,
Yes.
rather than just weed patches.
Yeah, I'd like to hear from the
Yeah, so-
design, what type of homes he plans on putting all these, including on Lot 4?
Yes.
Our public works director is listening, and he says he can't hardly hear anybody, so
Oh,
make sure.
Okay.
All right.
So, we have a question for the developer here about the type of homes and other things that you can address for the commission.
So, a lot of the motive for purchasing that additional parcel, which is proposed as a flag lot, is the previous homeowner was debating whether to do his own flag lot back there. And he was running into the instance, Britton, if you could pull up the Google map one. He was running into a problem of his own, I guess, shared easement that he would have to create through his own driveway and then possibly relocate the shed or garage in the rear of his house, and he really didn't want to go down that route. And so when he had heard of our intention to develop this, he was willing to he reached out to us essentially and asked us to take it from him, just because he knew the implications it would cause on his own property and access issues, and we calculated, it would be most reasonable to use it as a flag lot in our subdivision, since we do have that public street and utilities that we are willing to install.
Does that answer the question there? And
Yeah,
then
but
your,
then what type of homes, what type of development what type, price point are you looking at in those homes?
These are gonna be mid-price to higher end homes. We don't have house plans as of right now. We are shopping, kind of future construction, companies and builders. So we don't have a final product, discussed, but we do know the area, and we have considered and talked to the planning commission of kind of what homes are expected to be installed or constructed there. And we want to kind of enhance or, continue what the city already has established.
would these be, just to follow up, would these be custom homes, or will they be built by the builder and sold?
I would suspect custom, semi-custom homes.
Are you building them, or are you just selling the lots?
I'm not building them, just development.
Okay.
How do you see the layout on lot 4 working out, considering it only has 100 foot of depth and 200 wide?
Right.
And then you need fire department to be able to get in there and get out, and
Yeah.
do you perceive, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, there's options for hammerheads or turnabouts within, like, the driveway itself. We don't have the distance from the main Bylund lane to the house isn't substantial, and so we're willing to discuss options for development.
So Mike, maybe a question, or Britton, what is the requirement there for fire lane and those types of things?
So the flag lot ordinance requires that the fire department review and the layout and how the house plans, and so we'll have the Orem Fire Department, the fire marshal review that once we have house plans for the site.
Okay. And is the developer comfortable with knowing that that might squish the house somewhat, how you're gonna fit?
It's a very unique entrance and exit and location, but I mean, it's creative. With the semi-custom home, there are options that they can design into that where it's not going to be a cookie cutter, something that they're constrained to. And so I believe with a semi-custom design, you could accommodate that.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's gonna be unique to have takeaway 100, you have 100 feet, and you take away 12 feet of it for a turnaround, and depending on the direction of the home sits, a 30-yard rear setback, and it doesn't leave a lot left in the middle for a home, so that will be you'll have to be very creative.
Yep.
Turn it sides, you only have a 10-foot setback, or, on the one.
Thank you.
Right, on one side.
Yeah.
you have just-
I can see those type of things.
And the Orem Fire Department has been a little bit more creative on it. They would rather have a hydrant closer than trying to fit, a huge turnaround in there. And so they've got some different approaches on that they've taken as well.
Okay. Perfect.
Sorry.
So I just want to make sure you were comfortable
One
with
other
that.
comment, yeah, and I guess along those lines, the depth is what usually fire departments have considered, is that depth of how far do they have to go. And with it being essentially one lot length, that we can be accommodating if they need fire hydrants closer, or where they prefer that.
Other questions?
To say that house has to be built facing north.
Right, no, it can face either way, it's just with only 100 feet depth, it has 200 wide, but.
Well, but 100 feet is the standard width of a
Right.
2,000 square foot lot. 20,000 square foot lot, excuse me.
Okay.
It's doable.
Well, to me, this looks like it's very similar to what the original plan was in 2007, before Mr. Davis decided to just
Very similar.
scrap the master road and just make it a flag lot. So to me, this isn't much different than what was approved originally. Do you think?
No, it's very similar.
Yeah.
Steve, could I ask a question
Yes,
or
go
make a
ahead.
comment? I had a conversation with Mayor Dane, the previous mayor of Lindon City, and he just asked me if I would mention this, that in the original design that Mr. Davis presented, it showed an access to the park from this cul-de-sac. And there was a lot of resistance to that. And Mr. Davis said he didn't want to have that. And I just wanted to bring it up. There's not a consideration of that, is there?
And not as now, I did see that in the previous notes of the comments and notes from the previous meeting. We don't have that in our planning
Okay.
to,
And it's not required by city.
it wasn't previously there.
It used to be on our Parks and Rec Master Plan as a connection there from this future road to the park, but that was taken off a few years ago when the Parks and Rec Master Plan was updated.
Okay, thank you.
And I guess there aren't any ongoing issues with sewer or drainage or anything else on this parcel now? I'm
Not
sure
that
there
I've
are
heard of.
on the, down when you get into the hollow and down in there, but as far as these lots, everything's been taken care of?
Yeah, I mean, the 25, that easement will need to be increased to 25 feet, and so
Right.
they'll need to work that out. This cul-de-sac is a slight downhill cul-de-sac, which our
Right.
engineering department dislikes, and we want to bring an ordinance amendment to you guys in the future. But, so it is a slight descending cul-de-sac, but we've made that comment and asked them to see if there's anything they can do to help that, so.
And there were comments as far as the width of the trail. It sounded like originally he didn't want to give up the width of the trail that the city wanted, but that was done? Is
No,
correct?
that goes back to what Rob was just talking
Oh,
about.
Taken off.
Okay, is that what that was
Yeah, so that
referring
trail
to?
has been taken off our master plan since
Okay.
this was originally came before the
Okay,
commission.
I'm sorry, I didn't
Nope,
realize
you're
that was crossing over.
Okay, is there any more questions from the commission?
I just noticed on the subdivision requirements, there's one item that's, it says it's not in compliance, but it refers to condition 5. So what, can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, I can speak a little bit more to that. So, that is one of the requirements of easements shall follow rear and side lot lines whenever practical and shall have a minimum total width of 10 feet, apportioned equally in abutting properties. What is pretty standard across all of our properties that we'll approve of for subdivisions is you'll have your setbacks indicated, but we'll also require them to have a public utility easement that go around the property. If we'll look at this example from 2007, you'll notice that it has the setbacks and then an additional public utility easement. And the reason why it says no on there currently is because this proposed one does not currently have those public utility lines outlined, but we'll make sure that those are added before final plat approval.
Thank you.
Okay. This is not a public hearing, but is there anybody here from the public that would like to make a brief comment? So maybe we'll have you, and then if you'd come up, state your name and briefly state what you'd like to say. Whoever wants to be first. Please make it brief and to the point for us, and we'll.
Do I need to sign this at all or no?
Just so that we can get your name spelt right in the minutes.
Yeah, I'm Michael Schwartz. So my twin home I share with my father-in-law is right behind Lot 4, which was the Williams property. The only question we have for the developer and for the city is what would be the easement from our property line to the home on that lot?
You mean the setback?
The setback, yeah, from my backyard to the,
30 feet?
to the home.
Well, it depends on on the angle
the
they put the
orientation
house
of
on,
the home.
orientation of the house.
30 feet?
Yeah, so from the rear property line here, any potential house that will be built on the property needs to be set back at least 30 feet from that property line. So that's something that will need to be ensured. If
So,
any
so
buildings-
Britton, with that, that's if it's rear yard. If they turn it sideways, right, is it 10 feet on the side yard?
It is a side yard, but
That's my only question there,
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
so.
My name is Ward Ireland, and I live across from Phase 2. I just have a question, I guess from the developer or from you. There's a little angle that goes across from the cul-de-sac. Is that a sewer easement? Is that a lane or a road?
That dotted line?
Yeah, if you bring up just the drawing, not the
Yeah.
property, but the schematic. There you go, the dotted line that goes over to Phase 2. What is that? That's 20, says 20 feet.
It's an easement.
Yeah, so that easement's typically going to be dedicated for any potential utility additions like sewer line and
It's not a
storm
road?
drain.
Or
Not-
a lane, okay, it's an
Nope.
easement. And then all the lots are half acre, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Doesn't the plumbing the sewer go down that easement now? I think it does.
Yes.
And Corbett, didn't you say that possibly can be widened to 25 feet?
Yeah, it'll need to be widened to 25 feet to account for the additional utilities that are planned to be put in here.
Okay, thank you.
Council, I'm Greg Lupus here, and just got a question. That sewer that they just talked about, my property is behind the Phase 3, basically. Is that going to be a new sewer line established that we were just talking about, Britton? Or is it going to connect into the existing sewer line that the Davis property connected into?
Probably don't even know
I
yet.
think Jeremiah could probably answer. Just to clarify, you're referring to the new sewer that is gonna be installed in the utility
Yeah.
public right away?
Yeah.
Yes. So the street utilities are going to connect into the existing sewer, and then drain out the rear of the lot.
Okay, because the existing sewer that goes into Davis's house that's there now is connected to the sewer main that we gave an easement to when I bought the property for future development.
Okay.
And I don't know if you people knew that.
I'll have to consult my civil engineers that have
Okay.
referred and my survey team that did all the title reports and stuff.
But that is going to connect into the existing hub that sits at the corner.
That's over here, yeah.
No, it's
Oh,
down.
down here.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I just
Okay.
want to make sure everybody's aware of that.
Perfect.
And then,
I've got a question in that regard. Was that sewer built as a main back when Davis is built? I don't recall. Is that sewer main, or is it just a lateral in that easement now?
sewer main.
It's sewer main. I thought it was, so.
It's
And it's adequate to pick up the sewer
Capacity?
for the other 4 lots, yeah,
correct.
okay.
And if it's not adequate,
It need to be- Is there a manhole close to your,
there is a manhole right at the corner of the property there.
yeah, there should be.
And I assumed back then that it was adequate
Yeah.
for the one. We didn't know about the future developments, and so. And then the planning commission, we're talking about the phases here being built, and so they have to be held responsible to put in all the curb and gutter and sidewalk, all utilities at their cost. Okay, and then, my only other question
Before you
was-
leave that, Greg.
Yeah.
So that sewer from the manhole to the cul-de-sac will be an extension of the main. Is that right, to the developer?
Yeah, what connection in the cul-de-sac?
That's what it sounds like to me.
I
Yeah.
thought that, but I wanted to clarify.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then there'll be laterals from the home lots, okay?
Okay, and then, excuse me, I gotta consult my partner. Is there anything else I need to bring up? Okay, well, I guess I'm excited. Oh, one other thing I want to find out, and this is probably, I don't know if this is the quorum to bring this up about, but I've been very patient, and some of the neighbors around us have been very patient of all the weeds that have grown and grown and grown. And I talked to the, is it Michael?
Mark, the current owner,
Yes.
Mark, yeah,
And he's a hay
yes,
down in Fillmore or somewhere.
yep.
Anyway, and I said, hey, I got my mower, I would be more than happy to mow your lawn, because I'm thinking fire threat. And the weeds never got taken care of. And there's water in the lines that could have been spraying, which would make the weeds grow more, but at least it had kept it green. So I would just like, and I don't know if this is the quorum to bring that in and make sure that, I don't know when this is all gonna be taking place, but phase 2 and 3, if it gets approved, is gonna be further down the road. I would just like to make sure that that's not a fire threat on that property, because it's just been let to go.
So whoever's living there now, do they own that property now? Do they buy it from Davis's or?
No.
No.
The property was repossessed.
Okay.
It's vacant.
But has it changed hands?
It's vacant.
The bank doesn't own it, do they?
No, because the gentleman, Mark,
Okay.
is that your dad? No. Okay. Mark is the lien holder at this point.
Okay,
And I've talked with him, but
yeah.
Is there anyone living in the home, though?
no,
Okay.
no. I'm waiting for any time for squatters to set in, and then I'm gonna have to call the police department and say, hey, the chaplain needs some help over here, because I've got, God bless you all, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Doug McDougall. I'm Mark's brother, and he got stuck in California, so he asked me to come. But I only just want to answer that last one because it might be helpful. The home, because of the pending the subdivision that we're here to discuss tonight, has not been resold, but we'll be getting someone in there as soon as we can, as soon as the subdivision has been approved. And those lots, being half-acre lots, gated community, they'll be nice homes. The lots will be fairly expensive and very nice homes being put on them. So we're hoping that, that adds to the community. And I don't think, you'll have heartburn with it once they get up and built. If you had any questions, I'd be glad to try to answer them, but Micah Jeremiah did a great job, so thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything more from anybody in the public? 'Cause then we're gonna stop that part. We'll have the applicant come back up, and final comments from the applicant or questions from the commission before we move on?
When do you plan to start developing?
As soon as we can. With the approval of phase 1, we do plan on proceeding to develop that fairly quickly. I know we are phasing it. We don't want to get too far ahead into 2 and 3, right? But we do want to start this, get someone, living in the existing house and get that ready for them.
And just to interrupt, but our Public Works Director that's watching online is just texting me back and forth on stuff, but he just wants to make sure that the sewer crews will be able to access the manholes with jet vac and CCTV equipment and the stormwater and water valves. So we're reviewing those on the plans, but we'll make sure that Public Works has complete access for their crews to be able to access those manholes and everything.
Do we need to add that as a condition, Mike?
I asked him and he said no. He said just make sure it's on the public record, so.
Okay.
Steve, I do have one more question that Sharon just kind of brought to my attention. Right now, this is a private road driveway.
Correct.
And it's gated.
Correct.
When you develop, are the gates coming down?
Yes, it'll have to, because it'll
For
be a
the
public
public
street.
roads.
Public.
I mean, half-acre lots, if they were just standard half-acre lots, anymore, you're gonna start at total package at minimum $1.5 million type projects in there
Yeah, easy.
on half-acre lots in Lindon, I mean. It's definitely gonna be nice.
Okay.
The one condition I would ask you to add on there, if you approve this project, is that you find that the flag lot is not desirable as a city street, and you're okay with the driveway to the flag lot.
Okay.
Just have one other question or concern,
Greg, let's,
Oh,
Greg.
you can come up to the mic just so we can hear you.
So, in looking at it in theory, there's gonna be probably 2 cars per house that's gonna hit the road once people move in. That's not counting the kids or teenagers. And I'm just trying to feel the pain of coming down 200 north. It's not very wide as it is, especially when it gets down to Mark Walker's place on the corner. And so as far as being an issue for public safety, I want these people to be able to develop their property and do what they want to do with it, as long as it meets the needs and restrictions and the covenants. But to put, and I'm not saying those people that are going out on the 400 East would turn and come down, but some of them will. And it's just, that's gonna be kind of a nightmare. And I don't know how that's gonna be fixed based upon the existing houses, the way they've been built there on there now. So that's just my comment.
Okay, thank you. We'll consider that. Anything else from the commission or the developer? You're welcome to come back for any of our questions, or?
I know this in reference to his statement with Phase 2 entrance. We are going to have that constructed to the proposed sidewalk that's kind of on the neighbors currently, to match up that section. And so it is kind of tight in some of the areas that haven't been developed to that standard, but we intend to follow the city standards for the current road conditions.
And I know that traffic is always a concern, and it's something that we deal with constantly. And I know the city's well aware of loads on roads and making sure that they're adequate, so.
And I think this particular one is going out, it's 4 or 5 homes going out onto a major roadway. It's
Yeah.
not going into, on a road that was actually designed to carry more traffic.
Yeah, and I think, Phase 2 and 3, that might be more of a consideration, but that's not what we're here to talk about tonight. Okay. Are there any more comments, either from anybody, Mike, that you're communicating with, or? Okay. If there aren't any more comments from the commission, I think we're ready for a motion.
Just as a reminder, this is going to be for moving to approve, deny, or continue, not a recommendation to the city council.
Yeah, so take out recommend in whoever makes the motion.
I'd be happy to make a motion.
Okay, go ahead, Mike.
I move to approve the applicant's request for preliminary approval of Byland Farms Phase 1 major subdivision with the following conditions. Uh-oh, where'd they go? There they are. The applicant will continue to work with the city staff to make all final corrections to the engineering documents and plat for recording. 2, the Phase 1 plat with lot layouts is preliminarily approved as proposed. Planning Commission is fine with the fact that we don't need a public street to go back to service that flag lot. if you'll add that in the written minutes there, that'd be good on 2. Prior to plat recording, the applicant will provide staff with the final plat Mylar to include notarized signatures of owners' consent to dedication and obtain signatures of all entities indicated on the attached subdivision plat. Number 4, complete or post an adequate improvement completion assurance, warrant and post required warranty assurance for all required public infrastructure improvements. Number 5, the plans and plat will meet and be constructed as per applicable specifications as found in the Lindon City Development Manual and Subdivision Ordinance. 6, all items of staff report, and to include just noted access given to Public Works to run a cam down and take a good look at the existing sewer main.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The voting is unanimous. And I guess it doesn't have to go anywhere else. It's approved, so thank you.
Yeah. That's amazing that we can do that.
Yeah, that's a little different. Okay, we'll move on to item 6 on our agenda. This is a concept review, so there will be no action taken tonight. There's no vote. It's just the time for the applicant to review a concept with the Planning Commission to get how we're feeling about things. And I'm trying to find it. Oops, I closed my browser, so. I don't know the name of the applicant, but if the applicant's here, would you please
There you
come?
go.
Up,
McKay Johnson.
McKay Johnston, if you, right, and you come. And we will have
Michael.
Mike presenting. So what we'll do is we'll first have Mike present to us, and then we'll let the commission ask you questions, and we can give you our thought.
Thank you.
This is kind of changed from the
Sorry,
original thing to, this is the second thing to,
I can't find the newest site plan. I
because
gotta
you sent the
just a
the
second.
second one, did you get that?
Open it right now.
That's right here if you need it.
I think I emailed you the newest site plan, but I didn't download it into the folder, so give me 1 minute.
Yeah, this is the second one. I always just put it over to a PDF and then I don't have to, because I always have trouble accessing it here.
While that's loading, Mike, I still haven't seen any dirt move on the bank. Is it gonna be moving soon?
Yeah, they had their pre-construction meeting on Monday
Okay.
with Public Works, and so hopefully it starts any day. So they've got a building permit, they've got pre-con approval, so,
Okay,
yeah.
that's great. As I go on my walks down there, haven't seen anything and wondered what was going on with that.
Yeah, so hopefully shortly. It's a nice looking building.
And then you won't feel so bad about the construction, I mean, the commercial thing. I'm gonna stay here for
Okay. I got it. So as a reminder, concept reviews are general feedback only. No decisions are made. It's just general feedback. And so Mr. Johnston has filed an application for your review. He's considering 2 retail pad sites and on the property. This would be off of the State Street side. And then there is this portion of the property on Talon's Reach Lane and 500 North. It's this odd piece. It's about 75 feet wide. And Mr. Johnston is trying to figure out what to do with that property. He's come up with a concept that would be some live-work units. And I'll let him explain more about that to you. the major issue is, from Hawks Rise Lane, the ordinance requires a 300-foot setback for commercial uses. And then you can have the townhomes and other residential, like that was approved in Songbird Cove. And so that would need to be an ordinance amendment to the planned residential development overlay zone to do some live work units there. And then you would, there's some other ordinance amendment things that would have to go through as well on that. And so I'll let Mr. Johnston explain more about the project. I think the restaurant and retail pads you'd be excited about, you know, and so we'll let him take that from there, so.
Thank you. My name is Heath Johnston. The applicant is McKay Johnston, but I work with him.
Heath, and just pull that closer, a little bit closer to you.
There you go.
Thank you.
So just a little bit of feedback. As you look at that, the smaller purple building is earmarked for a Jack in the Box. Obviously, we haven't signed with them only because we need approval before we do so. The larger one has a Dunkin' Donuts that's lined up to go in there as well, and obviously we can't sign with them until we have an approval. That would also allow for a third tenant to be in the bigger building, or maybe two small ones. But we're really excited about it. As far as the odd-shaped piece that was just described, it's hard for us to get anything in there that makes sense, and we're paying a price for the land that's very expensive. We don't get a discount for that smaller piece. And so this live work, will be live work or flex space. The ground level could be something that we've talked to some glass companies that do windshield repair, that kind of a thing down below. Workforce housing, in what we do, we're seeing more, you know, everyone talks affordable housing, but workforce housing is a little different. It's those that are working that, you know, not necessarily families or whatever, but they usually work there, or they're entrepreneurs that own the building, live upstairs. But it works very well and has grown in other states, but it's a very needed piece of what our community needs. But so the ground level would be, you know, anything like that, or even there's one group that's looking at even doing like a bookstore, used bookstore that we've talked to. The housing is a 2-bedroom unit up above, and we're, as we've told staff, the buildings would be built to spec, obviously. Be very nice looking, and I think a real plus to the community.
Tell us about the 300-foot setback, though, where that's lacking.
So the 300 mark goes right to about Huck.
It's about right there. You can see it in that red dotted line
Right.
on the screen there. So this marks where the 300-foot setback line is.
So it just, what it's saying is you can't, right now, the ordinance doesn't allow any residential
Right.
closer to State Street that way.
I could sure see that not extending into that difficult piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is mixed,
Yeah.
it's mixed
And
use.
it's mixed use, it's not residential. You know, I'd be open to the idea of modifying that.
So I have a quick question, Mike, that you can, and maybe would need an ordinance amendment for this or whatever. I mean, we have a home occupation ordinance. What type of ordinance would govern these businesses? Would they just get a regular business license? Would we need to create a zone? I'm just trying to think of how we regulate a business inside of these. I'm not against them, but I'm guessing, I have to be careful what I say, because maybe that's what'll go there. I'll say maybe we don't want a tattoo parlor on the bottom of one of these in Lindon. I guess what I'm saying is how do we,
Yeah.
or what ordinance would regulate?
I think our commercial general ordinance would regulate this, so you could get a tattoo parlor there.
In there.
So,
So
but
it would be just whatever would be allowed along State Street, basically, would be allowed in there, because it's still zoned commercial.
But what we don't have is currently an ordinance that, in the general commercial zone, that allows for residential, do we?
We don't, that's right.
So we would have to do a modification to,
We-
and I've actually owned a couple of these type of properties in Sandy, on State Street in Sandy. A lot of the old homes got converted to businesses, and yet Sandy City let me, like I had State Farm Insurance on the main floor of an old home on State Street in Sandy, and yet I had a residential renter upstairs and one downstairs in the basement. And it's still, I mean, I had two of them at one time like that. So, I mean, it could become a thing that could be somewhat popular. That was just by accident, just to try and get some things happening on State Street in Sandy. And so, I mean, to me, I think we'd have to either modify the general plan, ordinance, or come up with a hybrid for something like that.
It has that planned residential development overlay zone, and so that's what you would modify. You'd add some language that in the 300 foot, 'cause you wouldn't want this going in the deeper portion.
Yeah.
You would say within the 300.
Yeah, and
there's things like setbacks and, you know, Talon's Reach Lane is a residential street, so would we want it more coming off 500 north to have an access? And so those are things we would have to look at deeper.
It is a residential street, but with the church right across, there's
And
no residences there.
Heath, I don't know how long, you know, you could possibly be patient on that piece. Have you had any conversation with the next door owners of the?
Yeah, our group has,
I'm trying to, is that Ostergaard property, who's left there?
Healy and Lindstrom.
Healy and Lindstrom?
Yeah.
he's still working and not ready yet. I mean, we have a lot of interest in that piece, and that would make our world a lot easier.
Yeah.
That would be so much better.
And it also cleans up some things, you know. So we've talked about that, but and just so you know, this dialogue is really what we've wanted. So as far as I'm concerned, any restriction that has a concern to you, I think would be the same as us. We want this to be very good looking. We don't want to hurt the retail. You know, certain businesses go together and some don't. And so we're open for that as well. We just want your counsel. But I'll tell you, is for us to always find the best possible use for a real estate piece. This is a little odd, whereas we don't have the dentist piece.
Yeah.
So we're doing the best we can, but it's also very challenging for us to, when you look at it, it's small, but this is a very expensive piece. It's on, the car counts and everything about it. We're running out of this space, and Lindon has a lot more. If you look at Orem, it's all redevelopment. You guys still have raw ground. So it gives us, a nice incentive to get a really nice property that's close enough for eyesight for retailers, but far enough off the road. It meets all those. We just have to figure that piece out, and this is what we came up with. Originally, we had 6 in there, and Mr. Florence explained to us about the ordinance about backing on to a road from commercial, so we changed it, dropped it to 4, which makes it a little tighter, but I think it fits within the general guidelines of what you're trying to do, even though it's not, so.
So when you say 4, you're talking 4 commercial businesses and 4,
Oh, you've got the
4 total
two up here
units.
above, on these, 2 here and 2 down here.
oh, okay. And do you plan on, are those gonna be, you're gonna maintain those properties as 2 separate rentals, or are they two separate entities?
They would be owned by one unit. They won't be communized top and bottom. So back to what you kind of had, you will have the ground level retail / warehouse, and then the top is a rental, but it's the same owner, and they're not condominiumized, even though they're like townhomes.
So you're hoping to sell these?
We could, or we could keep them. We get good tenants, then we'll keep them.
Does it only pencil if you have the live-work concept? I mean, could it be like a single-story print shop and?
We've looked at, and the ordinance only allows 3. We show 4, so one would have an office. It'd be a different configuration, not living quarters. It's very challenging to make it work with that much acreage that has to carry its own weight. So we're just trying to get it to where it helps carry its own weight.
Have you looked at it as possibly a single use, and maybe with 75 feet of width there, maybe you couldn't do it, but, and I'm not suggesting we need another swig, but something that was just a drive-through. You see what I'm saying?
Yes,
just
we
to
love
drive
swig.
around and just did one. there, but that would, you know, I wonder if you've looked at it that way
Well,
possibly.
Yeah, that's the first thing we looked at. You guys have 2 of those in your community.
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
in fact, my McKay here owns Swigs. So that was our first hope, but there's already a Swig, so distance, it's hit that point. Now-
But there's gotta be other things like that.
Besides
that-
drink shops.
Well, that would just drive in and tuck the donut place into going over there and splitting the other building up, just a bigger restaurant or something.
Yeah, so for our plans, we've got on the other side of it, there's 2 drive-throughs. And with drive-throughs, staff is looking at this, but we also look at it from our applicants, and it's the stacking of cars.
Yeah.
So, you see these, and I love Chick-fil-A, but the fact that they drive so much traffic, or better yet, in and out,
Yeah.
which I frequent a little too much. I get in that line and I count like 30 cars in front of me, and you back up in Orem, clear up to the retail. It's a nightmare if you get there late, and then you have 2 groups trying to come in. So as we look at this, Jack in the Box doesn't have that same problem, but they still have quite a bit of volume. Dunkin' Donuts, it's basically hot drinks and donuts, so they move through fast as well. But when we look at it, it's really hard to do any kind of stacking on the other piece.
On that other piece.
Yeah, we looked at it,
Yeah.
because that would have been best, we'll admit.
Well, my experience with, I'm in the real estate development company, is that we've found that those live and work only last about 6 months. And then the person that lives there moves, even though he may own the business, and now it's just a rental with an office. Have you had a different experience?
We have, and we're doing these in several states, and we've got one in Heber, that we're seeing a trend, and so it depends on where you're at. But workforce housing is, you can't lose with it right now, only because it's a different animal. But a lot of the people that own these are startup businesses that have been successful. They qualified for a 504 SBA, which is a good thing. And they lived there for 4 or 5 years, and then they usually put their foreman or someone in that space. So it's worked out well that way.
What if their business concept doesn't work? What do they do?
Well, so some of them are owned by them, and they'd sell their unit. These are very valuable in that there's not a lot of them right now. And so they get picked up fairly quick. They're good to own and rent out as well.
Yeah, and one point I know you're aware of is that you've got a church right next door, so you will be restricted a little bit by some of your uses.
Yeah, that's a good point, and that was the first thing we looked at. We view that as a good thing.
Okay.
So Mike, what would you perceive this amendment to this overlay zone be? Because we're already concerned that this overlay, somebody could demo something, we start dealing with this overlay at some other situation. So are you looking at maybe just adding that mixed use could go, so much mixed use could go within that zone?
Yeah, that's what I think the request would be, that we, because let me pull up the ordinance really quick.
I'm not ready to do that.
Yeah, I think maybe while you're pulling that up, I think one of the concerns we have is maybe not this plot, but we're always thinking, who can then twist this ordinance or make this ordinance fit another piece of property in Lindon? And that's what we've always trying to foresee, is how can this then,
Just this piece and not spread.
right? And so that's one thing we'll have to look at when we.
So the last time, and this is just me brainstorming, the last time we amended this ordinance, we said we didn't want to approve it for any other locations. And so maybe, we adopted maps saying these are the 3 locations where we allow the planned residential development. So maybe you say in project area number 2, you could have,
X
a
amount of
mixed
mixed
use
space.
in the
I'm not
front
ready to do
300
that.
feet, so.
Well, if it's only limited to that one property.
No, everyone has different feelings, but I guess with these properties where we're just trying to get these developed and trying to get this area so it's a really nice part of our State Street, I'm not ready to start making all kinds of ordinance changes already. Not this soon. You know, we'd have to make all kinds of changes to the commercial setback. We'd have to change the maximum density. We'd have to work out the parking. We'd have to work out the, you know, there's just so many things that would have to be ordinance changes and things changed and all those kinds of things. Plus, we're not sure this type of business would work well in this location. I'm not ready to start making all those kinds of changes yet with this property. So that's where I'm at.
And just a point, the corner business right there that lines up, the back of it lines up with your parcel, isn't that a heating and air conditioning?
Yeah, it is.
I mean, that's probably would be better suited for a flex space down in one of these nicer areas. And I'm not telling him what he has to do, but what I'm saying is it could come about that he may move to something like that. And then that piece could back up and have frontage on State Street.
And that property has been for sale.
It has been before, and
I believe as
have
of
you talked to
recently.
Lindstrom's at all?
Our group has
Yeah.
had word with them and our through agents, but it's, the other piece is what makes it a lot easier, but that piece, if we did get that, we would be knocking that building down.
Right.
Yeah, I thought that's what you mean. It has some structural damage and it's an.
And then that becomes more valuable,
Yes.
the whole corner piece.
It's always expensive to tear something down, but in this case, it would be key,
For sure.
stating the obvious.
And I'm guessing that you can't just do the north side. I mean, they're including, that you have to buy all of it, that little piece is part of the deal.
That was, yes, we would love it not to
Unfortunately.
have been, but it is. And once again, I view it as a good problem, right? I mean, we're trying to solve that. That's why we're here in front of you, is to get counsel. And I understand the difference of opinions. We're just trying to do this, but I can assure you, and you can do it through an approval later when we come back, that as far as restrictions that keep things generally in line with what you're trying to do. But that's our thought. And we're gonna continue to try and get the other pieces as well, because it would complete the whole project.
Yeah, that'd really make it a nice project.
Yeah. It's a great, as you know, it's probably the best piece along State Street in several cities worth, so.
You know, even if you just got, which isn't being utilized, the back piece, the dentist isn't using that back property,
No, he's not.
you know. He could keep, maybe, anyway, yeah, I'd definitely explore the idea of picking up some more dirt there.
But I know we also are, looking at the 700 North, we're looking at mixed use. And so I'm not opposed to mixed use at this point.
Yeah, and just the two purple buildings or whatever on this, are what we've been asking for on State Street.
Yeah.
As a city, right? I mean, that's what we've been asking
that's
for and
cut and
asking
dried
for,
there.
and we haven't gotten any. I mean, lately, we've got a lot of office buildings, but no sales tax generating buildings from a city. So I guess my general feeling is I'm not opposed to being creative on the other, but I worry, my worries are, I don't want it just to open up to the general commercial zone because we don't think through and make it really tight, because I don't want flex space popping up everywhere, the live, work everywhere in the general zone.
Would you all be open to the idea of it being tested there before we talked about it anywhere else?
Yeah, I mean, you've got, is it 4 units?
Yeah, it's now 4 units.
It-
to
so
get our
it's
parking in
4
line.
units, but 3 residential. Because the density,
So one would be all, top and bottom would be, or is that?
No, that's correct. It would be either office for the business below or 2 stories worth of
Of
whatever.
business
the-
or whatever.
yes.
And then would have 3 homes basically there,
Yes.
on the top.
Businesses
And then
below.
does that bring it within the 10? Or is that still the 10 point?
Yeah, the 3,
4 units and put Scott
Yeah.
3 would bring it under the 10.
Under the 10.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, there's concerns with parking, like you've got garages, but parking in front of the garage. I think we're gonna have to, there's some layout issues we're gonna have to work with and things too.
Yes,
and-
I think there's lots of issues, but
Yeah.
I guess if any place, I mean, this is in my neighborhood, so all this development is comes up to my house, but, I guess 3 more homes to have a test place, I don't know. I would have to see what the ordinance is before I'm really comfortable with that, but I really like what's going on the other side.
I like Jack in the Box.
So do I, in fact. You wouldn't know it, but they have great tacos.
California guys.
They have great tacos.
Their teriyaki chicken bowl is really good.
Is that?
Yeah.
We just wanted to get as much feedback. We've learned, a little bit of gray hair that instead of us just come in with a hammer, we want to get your feedback and thoughts. And I think staff can write this to where it protects the city's interests and still get the good. And that's why we're hoping that that's what we get from you and from city council, that we can figure out a way to make everybody happy generally.
Okay.
So it's your intent to do this all as one approved project?
Yes,
Including
and
the-
my intention is to try and buy those other pieces as well. But I'm trying to secure this first and then move into that other area, so.
That's what I'd like him to do, buy the other pieces.
Jared had a good idea here. You haven't talked to Scott Healy about maybe turning one of those buildings into a brand-new dental office, have you?
No, but that's a great idea.
I know the original developer had, and he wasn't interested, but
He's wanting to retire,
He's gotta be getting close.
yes, next few years.
Build him a building and give him his office for free.
That's a fair deal, and then he can lease it out to his
Put up what
junior
you want
partner.
For the rest of the building.
So, the applicant has made this application to get our feelings. Anybody else really want to? Because, I mean, if we're all negative, he should know, so he walks away feeling that we're all negative. If we're semi-positive, I mean, I appreciate Sharon's voice, because he knows where she stands, and so.
I understand, too.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I'm totally open to the idea, but I think patience might be your best attribute on this thing, if you could be patient to try and, not try to pound a square peg into a round hole.
I guess that's where I'm at too.
Me too. My only thing is that we carve it out in a way so it doesn't affect other parcels.
Well, it wouldn't if we just
If we
amended.
amend it just to that one,
The
yeah.
plan, or the residential
Yeah.
overlay zone.
Other than that, I'm okay.
Well, thank you for your
let's ask-
comments.
hey, Steve, do you mind if we ask Ryan if he's got any?
Yeah, we have Ryan, and does Karen or anybody have any points?
I think you guys have brought up great points. I really like the idea of, even if you can get part of that, some of those other properties. I think it's weird, the corner too, how it comes to a corner. It just feels like you could have a better use of space if you get more of the land.
Are you talking where the heating and air building is?
The corner, like where it matches up with the other, yeah, like right in here. How do I describe that?
The triangle.
The triangle
of the big
space.
piece.
I feel like you might have a better use of space
Yeah, that
if you
would
get
help
more.
immensely with circulation, drive-through, it would solve a lot of problems.
Even if you could get that back part of that lot, I don't know.
We'll keep trying.
Okay.
Yeah, my thoughts, wow, that's loud. I actually really like the idea of the, what did you call them? The mixed zone buildings? Yeah, to live, work. Yeah, live, work is what I was thinking. But having looked at starting businesses many times, having
a small location like that could be really beneficial to business owners. And so I see the value in that. I guess I'm of a mind of working with you as well and being creative in that area. And so you know who I'm an alternative planning commissioner.
Okay.
When someone is not available for the evening, I fill in. So thank you for the opportunity.
You know, and I guess from someone that lives there, the nice, at least for me, that makes it a little more palatable, it is next to a church. I mean, it doesn't affect any, it's not next to half-acre lots.
Right.
You know, and that's always my concern, is the transition from what we call Lindon, or what we've called Lindon for a long time, the half-acre lots, to this higher density or more things, that there's some transition. And I guess that's the one thing that makes it a little more palatable to me, is that it's not next to someone that built their home thinking this is gonna be a half-acre lot, and I'm gonna have a half-acre lot next to me. So I guess, you know, as a trial, I do think it would be, I agree, if somehow you could get and just develop that whole thing, it would be great, but.
Make a difference.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you so much.
I know you suggested, Mike, just limiting some sort of ordinance amendment just to this parcel. But if you go across the street, you know, Jeff Southward walks in here, or whatever his name is, isn't it?
Yeah, Jeff.
He's gonna make some case. Is there something that he could do on that lot and make some case to amend that? I mean,
Where do you stop?
Hard.
Or where do you, yeah.
And I'm not really opposed to it. My heartburn is what has already been expressed, that I'd love to see those other parcels be developed at one time, or at the same time, and come up with something better. But I just could see that property across the street.
It's already in the zone, and why are you making this, yeah, and I mean, that's what we're always
Again, you
up
might
against.
come up with a great plan, we might look at it, it might be, you know, the time might be right, but.
That's what happens to us.
Yeah.
Have we left a remnant piece over there, though? Is there a remnant over there on Jeff's piece? I don't know.
No, there's not.
But the nursery
But
could say.
the nursery say, I'm done being a nursery, and
I'm done being a nursery, I want some work live here. On this side of on that side of the road that abuts up to his condo.
There's still quite a bit of places where they have trees and stuff that they could.
Yeah, but everything that's there now are big parcels.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, I don't think you'd tell anybody to purposely create a situation like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, our next item on our agenda is the planning director report and reports from commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you.
Couldn't do anything with it. I don't know that we did.
it's only. been
So just
applied
on the 800 North, 1200 East, public hearing, that'll probably be the second meeting in February.
What are we planning, what are we trying to accomplish with the traffic study?
Yeah, I didn't see the
Trying to see how many cars are on it.
proposal for it, but I think it's,
Cars are on
you know,
12:30.
amount of traffic, circulation, how much, you know, how well it will be used.
In the scope of that, does it take into consideration, like future development and?
Yes, on the Pleasant Grove, on the Millet property, yes, it takes that into
What
account
about
too.
north of Millet property?
I don't know for sure.
Or north up by
The north of the Millet property is all private property.
private property, yeah, true.
It's not, I don't think it's currently annexed into to Pleasant Grove City, but somebody has collected,
Some property there,
yeah, some significant property there.
very valuable view property and everything up in there.
And then what about east of, up where it ends, where this road would end? I know currently that's Forest Service. Forest Service swap has happened in a couple instances that I've found.
Yeah.
Would a traffic study include kind of that area?
I think maybe you're talking about, as you're going up Dry Creek, there's that small road.
Yes, yeah.
You go to the west of that, it's all Forest Service or BLM land or whatever, but I could totally see somebody doing some politicking to.
So tomorrow I'll email you all the scope of work that we used for the traffic study. So you have that.
Because the reality is, the reason that road's going in is for increased traffic. So a lot of times we have traffic studies to try to disprove that it's gonna have a negative effect, but that's the purpose for that road, is to cause.
And if I remember, they're looking at,
That's a good point. That's what I'm- Like,
That's why
why
we're
are we
doing it.
doing it? It's
That's why
gonna
we're
say
doing
that
it.
it,
Mike's trying to tell us.
what they're looking at, now that, we're talking about it, I'm remembering a few things. I think they're also looking at build out. So what does Lindon look at, like at build out with 17,000 residents, and is that road needed for circulation and things like that too?
That's what I would hope.
That's
is
practical.
Not
Yes.
necessarily where we're at right now.
Yes, yep.
You know, but
or in the
what
future,
are
does that
future
traffic
needs?
study project out?
Yeah.
Is
So that will be tentatively the second meeting in February, but we'll wait and see once we get the report, we study it. Our city engineer will write a memo regarding it for you. And then 700 North, we've received a site plan for that. Now, that's going to I like to bring concept plans like we did tonight to you guys, but we're in a little bit of a rush with the 700 North site plan. So it's going to go to the council next week for their review as a concept discussion. So let me,
Is that the one Brown's working on?
it's Dwayne Rasmussen.
Oh, Dwayne.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Let's see,
Well, I missed the meeting. What's Dwayne got cooking?
this is his new, he has the whole south side under contract. So here's the site plan the council will review next week. So about 87,000 square feet of commercial, west of Anderson Lane. And then they have this is 37 townhomes, about 160 apartments. Here you've got a town square. And then you have this big box retailer that the city's been working on. And then some more residential over near the tracks line, or tracks, sorry,
Oh, because
Union Pacific line.
below it is we already have apartments going in.
Yes, below that we have more apartments.
What kind of residential are you saying over by the tracks?
This one here.
Yeah.
So this would be 4 stories, 3 to 4 story multifamily, more of like a TOD concept near a future transit station.
Which they require for the transit station. We have to have the density. We have to do something along there for units.
When you do get a transit station, yes.
You
Yep.
have to have it. You won't be lying.
At that.
I may not either.
Will, the word be let out on the big box retailer?
Sorry, I misunderstood that. What?
I said, at that meeting, will it just be a set of planning for the big box retailer, or will that
Name.
It'll be more of a discussion
be
on.
named?
I mean, they haven't told us not to. We haven't signed non-disclosure agreements, and so they haven't said don't say it. But I'm just still trying to be careful, and
Yeah,
so.
What about,
but things have progressed substantially.
No, not really, because the developer has the front part of 700 North of this property, so he's got the front of this property under contract, and so until he won't let loose on this project, on this property, until we come to some type of agreement on the rest of it.
So there's quite a bit of residential then in his project.
There's 375 units altogether.
What we've been fighting.
Well, I heard there was an issue with sewer.
Yeah,
With
we've
sewer
worked
at
through that.
location.
Yeah, we've worked through that. There's some upgrades that need to be made. We've spent a lot of hours with a third-party consultant going through all that.
Okay.
So as I was I'm still working on my staff report with the council, but just breaking it down, I think it's about 34% residential, 66% commercial, and 1% of the open space.
Okay.
Michael, are these apartments, are those also 3 to 4 stories on the left here?
Yes.
Where?
These ones here.
The ones right behind Ryan's house.
Yeah. And they're probably about at least 70 to 100 feet away.
What did you say, what's the rest 4K, what's that?
Oh, restaurant, 5,000 square feet. Now, take those for a grain of salt because they don't have these people under contract. So they would like a 44,000 square foot grocer. That's what they're trying to bring in. They would like, 6 different restaurants and a bank, but those are just written on there for now, so.
So the traffic flow, there is no road through there per se, where's this?
There's one right, this road right here goes all the way through. Yeah. So, sorry we did not have time to bring this to you, but I wanted to at least give you a view of it before the, so.
I'm almost glad the city council is looking at having to look at that and give approval of the concept before we look at it. I'm almost glad for that.
Yeah.
Especially with that much of your higher density residential on it.
That's just a concept review, correct?
What's that?
That's just a concept review.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
So we'll get their feelings, but if it's actually gonna happen, it will
There's
start
some
here.
ordinance amendments need to be changed. We probably need to,
But
we
I'll
need to
bring
update the
down
master
your
plan,
vetting it
you
first.
know,
So that's next week?
on Monday, yes. Yep.
Jake and Van can
So,
look at a plan
does
first.
Dwayne have the big box site under contract?
Half, we own the back half of the property
Okay,
where
I
the,
thought we
where the
did.
store will sit,
But
but he has where the parking lot and the fuel station would be,
He's sort of holding us hostage on the rest of it.
so.
Wouldn't be stupid enough.
do you need me to call him?
Yeah,
Yeah, I do. Yeah, sure. Sure, Mike.
If it'll speed it up.
we may need your buddy to call him and we'll,
Yeah.
yeah. So hopefully after Tuesday night, we'll have some good direction and see where council wants
And
to
we
go.
could attend that meeting if
Yes.
we wanted to, right?
Yep, of course. So, and then anything else on this one?
What else is on there? Where is that on their agenda?
Till Thursday when the agenda comes out.
Okay, and then what else do we have on our agenda for next time, for the 11th?
I don't know yet. There could be an industrial building. Yeah, I don't know. Can you think of anything right now?
I've had a couple people ask me about some conditional use permits, but they haven't actually sent in any
Okay.
formal applications.
So it shouldn't be a very heavy meeting.
What about the north side, 700, the basketball
Yeah, that was
place?
what I thought you were talking, the north side. is-
So when you say, so
Because-
what's going on there?
Yes.
'cause I talked to Jason Brown the other day, and he acted like he's still moving forward.
Yeah, he closed on the property.
Yeah.
So that's this parcel right here, that one in blue. So he closed on that, but I haven't heard from him for about a month.
Have we heard any rumors? He was always talking hotel or something.
Yeah, I
coming
talked to
in.
the Joel Kester who owns the rest of the property on the north side, and him and Jason are meeting next week and talking about that. But that's something.
I sat by him in a basketball game the other night, and he acted like things were moving in the right direction.
That's great.
Well, you just keep talking to these.
Keep doing some economic development for us. The last thing I had was we need to pick a night to elect another chair for this year. And so we'll need to have that discussion. We do that every year at the beginning at some meeting, so we need to have that discussion, what you want to do with that. So,
I think Steve's just barely got his feet wet.
But are you gonna continue throughout this year, though?
yes.
Re-up, are
Should
you
have done
going
that.
to?
I didn't
Belt's
see
out of
those.
the woods, you've been blessed to live again, and you just, well.
Are you gonna serve beyond the middle of the year, though?
I don't know yet. Probably, well, one of my goals is to see the temple done, but that means I probably have to stay, but.
We can still invite you.
So,
We're not gonna,
if you guys want to set a date, I'll have to make the decision by then if you want me to, whether I am ending this term or not.
It'd be
My
nice
original
to-
plan was, but I officially retired from doing my second job. So, so now this would only be my second job instead of my third, so I haven't made that decision yet.
okay.
Have you heard anything on the temple? Are they closing in on a date or anything for handing the building over?
They are very tight-lipped about that. So I even talked to the architect last week and I said, hey, someone from the church told me it'd be done for first quarter of this year. He's like, I cannot confirm that, so.
Well, a different open house was announced today, and that was in May. So if they're trying to do it during summer, they're gonna have to announce it pretty soon.
Yeah, and they don't do them all, they line them up, so.
Yeah, and I just know
I mean,
there's,
it-
the schools are concerned that if it's during school, it's gonna be a
What they
traffic
took, yeah,
nightmare.
well, I know we've expressed that concern to them too, so.
The Washington Temple had been done for 8 or 9 months before it got in that,
house?
the open house.
Fit into the.
And they told me typically it's after the temple's turned over to the church, it's usually 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and there's still
There's
granite
could
that
be
needs to
into
go
summer.
on.
It could
Yeah.
easily be into summer.
Yep. Do you guys have any questions for Britton and I? Okay.
I don't.
What'd you do to your leg?
I broke it about 1.5 years ago and it didn't heal right, and so they had to put a pin in my toe and help it heal. So I get it off next week.
Yay, yay.
Apparently, they just take a pair of pliers and pull the
Yeah.
pin out, so.
Yep, that's what they do.
And if you think it's not gonna still be sore, I'm sorry, it will.
Yeah. It looks like there's, yeah, some disclosures for you guys to sign after, so.
I didn't receive one. Is that because I went ahead and did it online like they asked us to? Is
I assume so, yeah.
that why?
So,
Is there anything else from the commission that would like to ask staff or anything?
Hey, you know what, that does bring up something that, I got an email saying I needed to review a 10 or 15-minute video.
I don't know if you guys have to review those. I think that's more of a city staff.
Yeah, 'cause it looked like.
It's a discrimination
And I
video.
tried to go into it, and we use that same format at the bank. And so it wouldn't let me even try to do a new login for, it kept pulling up the credit union.
Let me check with HR tomorrow and see if that's something you guys have to do.
So none of you
I'm
guys
not-
have done that?
I figured it was I assumed it was for full-time city.
And the more I
employees.
looked at it, I thought, oh, this just went to all employees, and it probably shouldn't have came to us.
February 10th, right, not the 11th.
Yes. Yep, thank you.
We're having that
It's
meeting.
February 10th on a Monday, yes. Remember I sent out that email or called all of you asking if we could move it to Monday, the 10th? So thank you, Ryan.
Our meeting's moved to the 10th. There's been a conflict for Mike, so we've moved our meeting to the 10th of February. On Monday,
Instead of Tuesday.
instead of Tuesday the 11th.
Yep.
Okay, if there's no other business, is there a motion to adjourn?
So made. I'll move that we adjourn.
So we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The meeting is adjourned.
Who's collecting these? Just leave them here, or are you collecting these?
Yeah, I'll take them.
So.
All right.
Is this just commercial